Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. A lot of you have been asking about the stray dog. Actually, it was a dumped dog. If you missed it, someone, we live out, obviously, in the middle of nowhere. And occasionally it happens. Someone dumps a dog out here. And we were coming back home Saturday from our Shabbat fellowship, and came across a dog that had been dumped. It was without going through the whole story again. I'm pretty sure it was within a mile or so from our house. I talked to neighbors. No one ever seen this dog before. People said that they saw him just show up, and he'd been sitting pretty much in that same spot in the road. He's an old black lab. I used to volunteer and work with, in a shelter, just because I wanted to. And I don't know if I've ever seen a dog in this bad a shape of just neglect. I can't really find anything that seems to be really wrong with him other than just old age and extreme neglect. And so we brought him home because he's so sweet. I couldn't bear the thought of just him laying out there and dying on the road like that. And I thought, even if he lived for a few days, give him a good few days, right? And so we've kept him quarantined just to be sure. And I'll get to more of it. I know a lot of you are already starting to type the questions and telling me what to do. It's the holiday. It's been the holidays, and we're out here in the rural part of the country, so none of the vets have been open. As soon as they're open, I'll take him in and get him checked out. But doesn't look like he has parvo or anything like that. No signs or symptoms of any of that kind of stuff. Bowels are moving fine. He's eating great. In the last couple of days, he's done really good. His legs are really stiff, partly, I'm sure, from malnourishment. I would guess he's been tethered up. He's got sores on his legs and stuff where it looks like he's just not been getting up a whole lot. And when we brought him home, he struggled to walk, but today he did really good walking around. He already doesn't look nearly as malnourished as he did. He's out. Here's a picture. Now, he looks rough. Let me explain things. He has nails longer than about any dog I've ever seen. I mean, we're talking nails that are like, let me get, it's hard to get a comparison on video. Here's an ink pen. Okay. He's got nails that are this long. And I don't feel I can trim nails. I trim my dog's nails, trim the goats and the sheep, and I've trimmed horse hooves and all that kind of stuff. But I don't feel comfortable trimming those nails that long. So I'm going to wait for the vet to do that. So he has difficulty walking because of that. But he's done amazing. He was up walking around outside today, loving the sunshine. He's really struggling with the cold because he's so skinny. But already his stomach isn't nearly as sunk in. We've been feeding him multiple small meals a day instead of like big 2 or 3 meals. And he's getting good food. My wife has been cooking him some venison stew with some rice and carrots and egg. And he's just loving that. And he, other than the fact that he's extremely malnourished and the nails are really long, he looks like he's doing really good. And like I said, he's even limbering up. We have some dog supplements on the way that we've used in the past with other dogs and cats that work really well with, older animals with joint pain and limbering, arthritis. So I'm hoping that those will work well for him too, because he's already improved a lot. Like the first day we got him, he could barely move his legs. He could barely stand up. He would just stand there and shake and kind of fall over. And now he was just walking all over the place. So just that is a positive sign. I haven't really worried about getting him too cleaned up because it's so cold and he's struggling with the cold. And even though, of course, it's hot water in a hot house, it's still just, I don't want to get him too cold yet. And so, I mean, he's dingy from just being outside and stuff, but nothing too extreme in that manner that we can't handle right now. Anyways, he's doing great. He's got such a sweet disposition. Like I said, he's eating great, going to bathroom great. Nothing in his bowels that seem to be too extreme. I mean, he's probably got some worms, but what dog out in the country doesn't? And we'll get all that kind of stuff taken care of. But I just thought I'd give you an update, and who knows, he could live quite a bit more of a life. Even if he lives just a few days or a few weeks or months, he'll get a good life with us. So he's already kind of getting to be my buddy. He's got cataracts real bad. At first I thought maybe he was completely blind, but I think he can see some. You can tell he struggles. He kind of turns his head to look, so he's trying to look around those cataracts. But he can still see, probably a little blurry for him, and he seems to be able to hear okay also. So there's the update on that, because I know a lot of people are questioning. I know some of you are going to say, I've already got the comments, oh, you're going to pick up every dog, and then how are you going to feed them in the apocalypse and blah, 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 blah. I'll worry about that when I get to it. Just stop, okay? There'll be ways to feed a dog. There's things that we won't eat that I can get all kinds of stuff around. And we actually raise rabbits. We don't eat rabbits. I'm not putting down anyone that does. We choose not to eat rabbits, but we raise them because they make great meat for our dogs. Anyways, moving on to all the stuff. Guess what happened today? I mean, a lot of things happened today. Here we are, the second day of the year. And just in the last 36, 48 hours, 3 days, last 3 days, so much stuff has happened around the world. And today a bunch of stuff happened too. And without going into all the great details, Saudi Arabia joins BRICS along with like Iran and Egypt and the UAE and a couple other places, I think. There was power outages in New York. There was they believe an attempted terrorist car bombing in New York that was stopped because of a car wreck. There's been earthquakes all over the place. Israel did an airstrike in Beirut, Lebanon, to take out some Hamas leaders. So that's very possibly going to exacerbate that whole situation in the Middle East. Russia has been conducting the last 24 hours their strongest and heaviest bombardment of Ukraine since the war in the last 2 years. So a lot of things going on. But there was something else that happened today also, along with many other things I haven't even mentioned. The United States national debt crossed $34 trillion. If you remember, it's just been a few months. I don't remember what's been 4 months, 5, maybe 6. Maybe it's been 6 months. I think it was back in July or August. So I'd say around 6 months, we crossed over the 33 trillion mark. And now we're at 34 trillion. So are we looking at $1 trillion? We're at the point now that we're at $1 trillion every 6 months in debt. $2 trillion a year in debt. On top of that, I mean, this is extreme, folks. We've got BRICS getting bigger and more powerful. We've got Iran and Russia completely going off the dollar. And over the last 12 months, we've watched numerous countries. I can't remember the number, but I'd looked it up a while back. And in some form or fashion, meaning they've completely gone off the U.S. dollar or they're a little bit off or whatever of the U.S. dollar, we're looking at somewhere around 30 or 40 nations that are in part at least walking away from U.S. dollars. And then now with BRICS growing, oil prices are going up. The Middle East stuff is getting bigger. And China has very openly now, like just a few weeks ago, they were saying that everything's going to be good and it's all going to be peaceful. Now they're very openly saying that this year they will reunify completely with Taiwan. There will not be a rebellion, and that no one will stop them, and they will stop at nothing to make this happen. North Korea has also changed its policy up until just, I guess, the last day or two. The standing policy with North Korea was to attempt to reunify with South Korea. They've changed that policy, and they said that now they are not trying to in any way reunify with South Korea. They view South Korea as a full adversary, just like the West, and that they are corrupted by the United States and the West, and that they are a complete full enemy. So we're watching things divide very rapidly and wide. And the U.S. dollar, well, it's been going down, and it's going to continue to go down. And I don't need to see the market index price. I'm talking about the full faith and credit and power and respect and usability of the U.S. dollar is getting less. And now we're another $1 trillion and another $1 trillion and another $1 trillion. I can remember back when people were freaking out because we crossed the $8 trillion or the $5 trillion in debt mark. We're never going to pay this back. There's no possible way. It is absolutely impossible to pay this back. And I know that there are people out there, there are analysts out there that are saying, well, we don't ever expect to. It doesn't even matter anymore. We can have 50 trillion, 100 trillion, 500 trillion dollars in debt. It means nothing anymore. At some point, and we're getting there already, but at some point, the rest of the world are going to start saying, isn't this a little ridiculous? I mean, if this one country can go into just unimaginable debt, unended debt, and nothing really to back it up at all anymore. We don't have a military that the world fears constantly and is bowing down to us. You know, we don't have the Saudi Arabian oil deal anymore because that's crumbling. What do we have anymore to back up this useless paper? At some point, and it's happening already, more and more of the world is going to start realizing that we've got this country that's creating this debt and this inflation on the backs really of the rest of the world and pushing their usage of this dollar. And more people are going to walk away from it. And even in the best case scenario that the US dollar doesn't completely collapse, the US dollar becomes so worthless on a global stage that here in the United States, the buying power will be so diminished that we think inflation is bad now. It's only going to get worse. You know, the privilege that we've experienced in this country of getting cheap goods into this country because of the purchasing power of our dollar will go away. And all of this imported stuff that we get because it's cheap is not going to happen anymore. And we will watch this nation go into a great economic depression, more so than we already are. And honestly, that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is even more hyperinflation, even more wars, and even more diminishing our presence on the global stage, which will completely change everything. And I believe that this is a big part of the far leftist, Marxist, Satanist, globalist plan, is to bring America to its knees. You can't have this big globalist plan that they've been cooking up for years now and have a strong independent U.S. Dollar and a strong independent U.S. government. That has to come crashing down so that all of the rest can happen. It just has to happen. And so I think that's a big part of what we're seeing. They know it's collapsing and they're going to milk everything out of it. They're going to squeeze every drop out of this turnip they can. So that they can all walk away being bigger billionaires than before, making lots and lots of money, spending it to the military industrial complex, everything, pharmaceuticals, the politicians, all of them. They're all making bank off of this while the middle class is getting smaller and smaller. The average savings of the United States citizen is becoming smaller and smaller. The average debt that the U.S. citizen has is bigger and bigger. Our overall wealth is becoming less. Someone's making money, and it's certainly not you and I. And if you can't see it now, I don't know what to tell you. But this is the collapse, folks. This is the collapse that's happening. And the amount of debt that we are going into at such a rapid pace, it amazes me. Even just 3 years ago at the start of Biden's presidency, during Trump's presidency, you know, when we would go in debt, you know, by 100 billion or a couple of 100 billion, people would get, oh my goodness. Now we're going into debt $1 trillion every 6 months. And no one seems to even care at this point. No one talks about it. It's not in the news. It's just a fleeting moment. And it's only going to get worse, you know, in another year or two. Could it be $1 trillion every 3 or 4 months? Certainly, absolutely, especially if we go into a bigger, wider scale war. We're watching the collapse of this country, folks. We're watching the collapse of this society, this civilization. It is falling down, and you and I can't stop it. I don't believe a president can stop this. I don't believe a Congress. I don't believe a revolution necessarily can stop this. I think it's at the point now, it needs to fall flat on its face, and that's probably what's going to happen. And you and I need to be prepared for it. You and I need to be stocked up and ready. You want to invest in stuff. You want to invest in the stock market. People ask me all the time, where should I put my money in investments? Well, let's see. Food, supplies, a land, a bug out place, making sure you have an adequate vehicle, making sure you have medical supplies, training, guns, bullets, a little bit of gold and silver, and then just a lot of supplies. That would be the best investment I would advise most people right now. You know, unless you're sitting there with several $1 million under your pillow, the average person, when they're thinking of investments, they want to get the best return off of their money, but yet they don't have anything to survive off of. And that is, in my opinion, which is not a very educated opinion, I guess you could say, but in my opinion, that's absolute foolish. You need to take care of your preps and your family first. You really do, before you even start thinking about where to put all this money that you have. And I know most of you don't have a whole lot, but you know, for those of you that do, where are you going to put it? Well, you need to put it in the real kind of investments, which is the stuff that helps you, the stuff that you put in your mouth, the stuff that you use on a daily basis. That's going to be worth way more than any stock market or whatever piece of paper that you put it in. It's happening faster and faster every day, and boy, the last 3 days has been kind of a whirlwind of stuff. You need to get your houses in order, folks. This is very serious. Keep preparing. Just push yourself daily. You should, I would strongly recommend that every one of you on a weekly basis evaluate, you know, whether it's on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday or whatever. Sit down and evaluate and make goals for that week, goals of what to purchase, goals of what to go through and organize and do and train and learn, whatever it is. You really need to be working on weekly goals at this point, because I think it's just getting to that point. Get it in order, folks. Prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.